we're in the phase of capitalism where we're going to find out the hard way that capitalism doesn't reward hard work because of AI. Do you think that if they don't want to pay a wage that supports your most basic essentials for living, the whole point of capitalism where you do a job and then because of that job you can afford your essentials, that's not what's happening. You think that if they removed that from our system in America, that they would even hesitate to replace your job with AI? With humans, you have to pick two of three things, right? Good, fast, and cheap. With AI, theoretically, when it gets to be as good as they are pretending it is right now, will be all three of those things. It would be stupid of a capitalist, a person whose first and only goal is profit, to not replace your job with AI. And I know you're like, well, they can't do that. You still have to have someone prompt the AI. Look, all it takes is one company who says, look at how much more efficient we are by having our software engineers use AI. And then another company comes along and says, look, we replaced a software engineer with AI. And then another one comes along and says, look, we replaced our entire software engineering team with AI. And look at how much more efficient we were. Look at how much more profitable we were. And then another company comes along and says, look, we replaced every employee except for the CEO with an AI. And look at how much more profitable we were. Well, what about doctors or the trades? It's like, okay, until they put the AI in the robots, which they're already doing, right? So what happens then? What happens when AI replaces your job, my job, most of the jobs, if not all of them? What happens then? I hope it doesn't ever replace art. The point of technologically advancing, scientifically advancing our understanding of the world is to make it so that labor becomes less laborious. Is to make it so that we don't have to work as hard and we can get more work done. But I think AI is the point where we won't have to work anymore. You need UBI, you need policy in place to protect people. Socialist-inspired policy would be another way to describe that. We're getting to a point where we're not going to require human labor to make it work, right? So you need to figure out how to have an economic system that doesn't rely on exploiting humans. You are going to be replaced. And I need you to be thinking about capitalism as a profit-driven system first, and not a work ethic-driven system. It only rewards profit. It has only ever rewarded profit. That's why these companies fight to keep the minimum wage below a level of which you can afford your most basic necessities. Even though that was what minimum wage was intended to capture when it was first implemented in America. Otherwise, the person who has to work 3 jobs to be able to keep a roof over their head and food on their table for themselves and their family would be a millionaire.